the short paragraph of Rosh Chodesh benching, we ask for Yirah Shamayim twice. We first ask for Chaim Sheish Bam Yirah Shamayim V'Yirah, and soon after we again ask for Chaim Shetei Banu Avas Tera, and again Yirah Shamayim. I think Bobby noticed this double mention because the concept of Yirah Shamayim was so integral to her life. Bobby, I think, personified the midas of Yirah Shamayim, which is linked to being sameach b'chalkai, happy with one's God-given lot. I don't remember Bobby ever complaining. When adverse events happened to her, she accepted them as the will of Hashem and dealt with them without blaming anyone and without complaining, but with determination to find solutions. Following are examples that come to mind. Before Zayda and Bobby moved into their own home at 4900 Lakewood Avenue, circumstances compelled them to move houses every few years. I never heard my mother complain about moving, about conditions in the rented houses, like feeling cramped, having to climb stairs, or difficulties with landlords. Bobby accepted her lot and always looked at the good side. She looked for the advantages of living in all those houses, whether it was the good location, the friendly neighbors, or some specific convenience in the house. Winters were cold, snowy, and long in Montreal. As a native Baltimorean, the weather must have come as a shock. Raising children in 9-month winters had its challenges, but I never heard her complain. She accepted the cold weather as a fact of life, and always made sure to protect us from the elements by bundling us up in sweaters, hats, gloves, long johns, and snowsuits. I never heard Bobby complain about not driving, or not having a second car. She always made do, and appreciated that she didn't have to battle traffic. She went out when friends went out, or she went places with Zayda. I never heard Bobby complain about Shloshim. It was difficult living in an out-of-town Jewish community while trying to marry 5 daughters. And it must have been difficult for her when some of the daughters moved to New York to be in the hub of the frum world. But Bobby accepted that her daughters moved away and did the hishtadlus she was able to do from afar. On a personal note, I know that Bobby did not embrace the idea of my going away to seminary in Europe at 16 years old for 3 long years. I was the oldest at home at the time, and she was going to miss me. But she understood that I wanted to go learn, so she accepted it and allowed me to go. I was always grateful for that. When the yeshiva in Montreal closed, I never heard Bobby complain. The closing of the yeshiva was an enormous emotional blow to both Zayda and Bobby. They had sustained and been sustained by the yeshiva for decades. The yeshiva was the reason Zayda and Bobby came to Montreal in the first place. I never heard one complain. Bobby accepted this development and helped Zayda build something new. Bobby faced this major challenge with grace. When all the children got married, Bobby did not complain about feeling lonesome or isolated. Her attitude was always accept and make the best of things and see the good side. Bobby and Zayda became very close to the Feingold family, read a new shul, and Zayda began performing Gittin. If we fast forward to Bobby's later years in Israel and look at how she lived, we can again see her Yirah Shamayim and philosophy of life in action. In Israel, Bobby had to move to 3 different residences, 2 of them while caring for an ailing husband, the 3rd as a widow. But Bobby did not complain, not about the stairs or the hills or the locations. Instead, she took advantage of the Middle Eastern warm weather and the efficient bus system, and enjoyed attending shiurim, lectures, and community events wherever they took place. Bobby adjusted to her new realities and lived a totally different kind of life, an intellectually stimulating and very social one. Tied into Bobby's Yirah Shamayim, I believe, was her policy of never saying Lashon Hara. Bobby was so careful not to say or hear Lashon Hara that if anybody around her ever said something negative about someone else, she would immediately rally to the maligned person's defense. Bobby had many other amazing characteristics. I'd like to mention some that made a particular impression on me. Bobby always kept her home well organized. Everything in it had its place, whether it was a decorative plate, a plastic bag, or a paperclip. Bobby had flair. She made every home she lived in beautiful by decorating the walls with pictures and ornaments, or by painting the walls and arranging the furniture just so. Bobby was creative. Regarding raising children, she always said, "Medarv zuchin eitzos." Mothers have to constantly think of new ways and ideas to occupy children. I fondly remember the empty cardboard food packages that Bubby taped together after using up their contents. I loved playing grocery store with all the little boxes. Bubby had a sense of humor. She always enjoyed a good joke and often saw humor in everyday mishaps. Bubby was a great listener. She was genuinely interested in everything and anything family members, friends, or acquaintances told her. She even listened as her little grandchildren proudly described the origin and value of every sticker in their oversized sticker books. Bubby was a progressive. She welcomed new knowledge and wasn't afraid of information that wasn't yet known or accepted by the Hamaynam. Bubby was active. She was almost as physically active at 80 as she was at 30. Bubby loved learning. Bubby went to college and earned her bachelor's degree when she had 5 children and was expecting the 6th. But learning didn't end with acquiring her bachelor's degree. Bubby was a lifelong learner. She thirsted for knowledge, general, but especially Kaddish. She was always thrilled to hear a new word or a mefarish she had never heard before. Bubby was a writer. She wrote letters to congressmen, senators, and presidents, trying to effect change about causes she cared about. A lot of those letters concerned the safety of Israel. Besides all those official letters, Bubby also wrote personal letters. Throughout my 3 years in Gateshead, Bubby's letters were a lifesaver. Last but not least, I would like to mention that Bubby was caring. 2 examples of her caring stand out in my mind. Throughout the years of raising her 6 children, Bubby took a photograph of each one of us on our birthdays, and then put those photographs into 6 separate personal photo albums, each one being a photographic record of the child's growth from baby to adulthood. What a job this must have been. Besides creating these picture albums, Bubby also set aside a memory box for each one of us and put inside them our childish drawings, our certificates, birthday cards, and any other special memorabilia that we accumulated growing up. When I got married, I took my precious box and photo album with much appreciation for all the time and effort it took to create and organize those items. In recent years, Bubby showed her caring by keeping up a personal tefillah and tzedakah campaign as a host for her older single grandchildren to find their matches. Baruch Hashem, she lived to attend or hear about the marriages of all the people she davened and gave tzedakah for. Chaval al davdin v'lo mishtagtin, pity on the loss of those gone and who cannot be replaced. May we be zeichet to emulate Bubby's midas, and each time we do, may her neshama have a powerful aliyah.
Amen. Hashem